It says preparing live stream webinar.
It says we're streaming on my end. Hi, Facebook.
Right, I can't actually see you. Hold on a second. But I believe, yes, I've got you now. Okay, hold on.
Yay.
Cool. So that was a tiny glitch, but I've closed down Facebook now. So, right, hello, lovely ladies. This is Alex Trudnicka here. And as promised, I've got a sweet and juicy treat for you today. I've got a lovely Naima Singletary with me, and I do apologize if I messed up your surname. I get my surname messed up all the time as well. My accent isn't that perfect. But Naima is an internationally recognized wealth coach, and she works with coaches, healers, spiritual workers, and her strength is to really help women step into their womanhood. Go from being the girls, the scared girls who are kind of scared to admit what they want, to powerful women in business. And so obviously I will let Naima introduce herself properly in a second and tell us a little bit more about her story. But just to let you know, we will be here probably for about 30 minutes, and we will be talking about the topics that can help you step into your power. And so please stay tuned. Also, for those of you who are watching the replay, Naima has very kindly promised to me that she will answer all of your questions. So if you are watching this on a replay right now from the comfort of your home and you've got any questions, just feel free to post them below and she will get back to you at her own time. Okay. So with that being said, Naima, just for the women who are on my page who don't know you, right, just tell us a little bit more about your own story. What has led you to become the leader that you are today?
Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, thank you. I'm so delighted to be here, Alex. And I want everyone who's watching this to know that this is the power of being a global leader, is that all of you watching have the privilege, because it is such a privilege, you have the privilege to leverage technology to get your message out into the world. Look at this. I'm here in Paris. Alex is in the UK. You watching this could be in the United States, Australia, etc. We're going to be sharing this around the internet more when we're done here to reach more women, particularly in London, but naturally other women in other parts of the world are going to see this. And so when you really get into your power around being visible, around telling the truth, around claiming what you want, and then, allowing yourself to have it, you will be able to leverage technology the way Alex and I are now. So thank you, Alex, for being a part of this example as we're modeling to other women what's possible. And so for most of us in the transformation space, right, those of us who are coaches and healers and shamans and mentors, etc., we're typically spearheading, leading something that was once a pain for us, a trauma for us, a tragedy for us. And the tragedy for me was just poverty consciousness for a long time. And I didn't even know I was poverty conscious because we aren't taught to think about what's your money mind and how do you feel about money and what are your financial goals and why aren't you reaching your financial goals and what is it going to take for you as a woman? That was not a part of my curriculum as a child in school or at home. And for every other woman I've ever spoken to, 99% of us, that was not a part of the conversation. And so I learned very young, and I didn't even catch this thought process until I started to actively work on my feelings and thoughts around money. But the thought that I picked up around 9, 10 years old, which is around the time between 5 and 10, the window, 5 years old and 10 years old, is when most of us pick up our ideas about how money works and who we are as it relates to money. So at around 9 years old is when I started to pick up the idea and the belief that other people can have what they want, but I cannot have what I want. Cancel, clear, cancel, clear, cancel, clear. So I didn't realize this until when I started to bump up against walls repeatedly around money when I came into the transformation space in 2011. So I'd be working hard, being positive, doing my best, and speaking and being such a good person, going to networking events and networking and giving my cards and working so hard. And I have an MBA, so I felt smart and competent and But the truth was I was struggling. At one point, I was renting the bedroom of another woman's apartment, and she was sleeping in her living room. And I would do my marketing videos in the one bedroom while she's in the other room, and I have no money, and I'm talking to women about courage, etc. And so finally, it was after really just being pissed off, just so sick and tired of not having money, of lying to people when I would get invited to places, saying something like, I'm busy or something else is happening, when the truth was I didn't have the money to go to the thing that they invited me to. I was tired of knowing that I was competent and having something to offer, but yet my bank account is reflecting like $50 in it. And ultimately ending up living with my mother. Like that, for me, that was the bottom. And I fell into depression, having to move in with my mother. And it was just, and I know everybody's story is not as, dreadful as mine, but that was the reality. That is what it took for me. And so it was when I started actively working on this money part, hiring people to help me, engaging in the wealth consciousness practices, and really committed. Like that was the big thing. I had to make the commitment, because you can have the best coach in the world, but if you aren't committed, it means nothing. Mm-hmm. And so it was at the end of 2013 that I really made the decision that I was going to go forward and really transform my relationship with money. And since then, I've gone from, at the time, it was $7 to my name and living with my mother, borrowing one of her rooms in her house, borrowing my monthly cell phone bill money, right? That's how terrible it was, to now have built a multiple six-figure coaching business online, get a chance to work with fabulous women all over the world like Alex, live here in Paris, have been living here for 6 months. Before I was here, I was in Italy for over a year, and have traveled all over the world richly and fabulously, and have team. I'm able to eat well, which is really important to me, to be able to eat really high quality food, to be able to take exquisite care of myself, because there's no way I can help people in the world if I'm not well. And so it's the space in between, really 2011 and now, but really deeply from 2014 till now, doing this work of transformation and relationship with money is a huge part of my story.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. And so I really want to kind of attack this from a different angle, because there was something that I picked up from what you said, and I really want to ask you more details about from what you were saying. Sure. You said it was the moment when you've made the decision to enough was enough, and then you start engaging in a wealth consciousness practices, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Can you talk to us a little bit more about these? What were the steps that you were taking? So, for example, for the women who are watching, who are maybe in a similar situation, right? Yeah. What is the practical advice that you can give them to take those steps? What is wealth consciousness? Because we hear it everywhere. Right. What is it, and how can we start having those practices in our lives, in our businesses?
Good question. First of all, and I tell this to women all the time, is you have to make making money a priority. Like, just to even be like, my goal this month is to make $10,000. Like, that is a big switch for a lot of women, okay? So the practical step is decide how much money you're gonna make in July or August. Just if it's 5,000 pounds, 8,000 pounds, whatever, decide the amount. Do not underestimate the power of making the decision. Because what oftentimes women come to me and they're like, well, I would like to make $10,000. I would like to make $10,000. And I have been guilty of this too. So I'm not like trying to make you, look bad or feel bad. And all of us would like to make $10,000, right? I think if you ask the average person if they would like to receive $10,000, they would say yes, right? But it's not until you say, I will make $10,000, like, and you're serious, I will make $10,000 this month, that you immediately activate the power of your creation, your ability to create. That's number one. Number two is you really need to be around people where it's safe for you to make the money you want, talk about it, etc. And I think a really good place to start for that, if you're in or around the UK, is to come to the More Than Enough Money event in London, August 8th. London, August 8th. We're having our More Than Enough Money event. Alex is going to put the link to the event, to the ticket page with this video when we're done here. It's morethanenoughmoneytour.com. Again, morethanenoughmoneytour.com. And this event I'm facilitating. I'm completely facilitating each and every woman in the room to help uncover whatever her invisible money block is. I call it like the thing going on back there. Okay. So I'm going to facilitate you through the exact same thing I went through to uncover the story that I picked up when I was 9 years old, that other people can have what they want, but I can't have what I want. Because you got to find out, why are you not making the money? Why are you so smart? Why are you so hardworking? Why are you so competent? Why are you so willing to help? Why do you care so much, but your bank account reflects that of a lazy, stupid person? Why is it not matching? And yet you feel good, you're right? So we're going to uncover what that story is, and so much more. Like, we're going to really get down into the deep and help you start to create a real plan. And I'm not just like step-by-step business-wise, but your internal, how are you going to operate as a woman now versus a little girl who's worried about what other people think? So that's another practical. A third practical, I have 3 books that I recommend all the time to everybody who's serious about cultivating their relationship with money. And before I share these books, and Alex, I would love if you would also share that with the people when we're done here. There's a billion books everywhere. There's plenty of books, but you must read the books if your life depends on it. It needs to be your daily food, especially in the beginning of you creating a new relationship with money. You have to understand, if your current reality is worried about money and struggle with money, you have to work a muscle to change that. Like, it has to be an active, daily transforming. So part of that transforming is you're going to be crying at night. You're going to be afraid. You're going to be worried about something. So then you're going to have to practice what you're reading in these books. You're going to have to practice what your coach is telling you. You're going to have to remember what your commitment was. Like, this is how you rework a muscle. For those of you who are familiar with the gym, if you have never worked on your abdomen and you go and get a coach and they send you through a hardcore 20-minute abdomen workout, you're going to be in pain. You are going to be in pain particularly the next day when you wake up. And then you can either quit right there when you feel that pain, like, that's too much. Or you can say, no, I committed to getting my stomach down so I can wear this bikini, or so I can feel good, or whatever the thing is that you want, and show up the next day and show up the next day. And then 3 months later, you're just like, fuck. It's like you forget about the pain 3 months later. You're just looking at yourself in the mirror, and it's the same thing with money. You have to be willing to go through all of the uncomfortability, the challenges, the everything, so that you can have the reality that you want, whether that's living in Paris, whether that's traveling with your children, whether that's donating to the cause that you want, whether that's hiring a nanny to help you because you're so busy, whether it's retiring your husband, right? What is that thing that you want? You're going to have to put in the work. So those are the 3 practical pieces. 1, come to the More Than Enough Money event. 2, read these 3 books that I'm going to share, like your life depends on it. And number 3, decide about the amount of money that you want to make, and make it a decision that you're going to make it. So the 3 books are The Science of Getting Rich by, what's his name, Alex? Wallace Wattles. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, and Working with the Law by Raymond Hollywell. Yeah, Raymond Hollywell. So Working with the Law, Think and Grow Rich, and The Science of Getting Rich. I recommend that you start with Working with the Law, but it's your choice. Obviously, you can read whichever one you want, but I recommend starting with Working with the Law because it's a personal favorite of mine.
I couldn't agree more, because I think Hollywell talks about the quite mechanical process that you need to do in order to actually change your belief system. And my question to you on that, if we can just stay with that for a few more minutes, what would you say to women? Because I hear that a lot. I absolutely love working with the law. I studied, I memorized parts of it, I listened to audio. I was just like, it's like my Bible, right? Yeah. But I keep hearing, oh, it doesn't resonate with me. The languaging is quite hard and everything else. What would you say? How would you say why is it so important that we do that? Why do you say you need to study like it's like your life depends on it, right? And what would you say to those women who say, oh, you know, it's just another book. Does it really make a difference? What would you say to that?
So first of all, you're talking about working with the law. They're saying that about
Yes.
working with the law.
Yes, and the other two as well. I tend to sometimes hear the opinions that, you know, they're too hard to read or they're too hard to study because of maybe the language is not that relevant because they're written a little bit of a older language. I personally love them, but I keep hearing that from women. What would you say? Why is it so important for them to study those books?
So if someone said that to me, I'd ask what's hard. I know that in the Science of Getting Rich, they use a lot of the older language. So on a technical level, practical level, I see that. And I would say two things. One, hard means don't do it? Like, is it just supposed to be like, oh, it's going to be easy, right? So I would say that, because you can still read it and you still understand it. So I would say that. And then if somebody is like really, because it's one thing to be like being in a place of wanting things to be super easy for you and not willing to put in the work. And so you're rejecting the book. But it's another thing to be like, I'm having a hard time really getting this because of the language. So for somebody who says that, I would recommend a fourth book, which is very modern and also very powerful. I probably should add this to the list now that I'm thinking about it. I think this is an amazing book. I was quoting this woman for like a month on my Facebook wall in December. Barbara Stanny. And the name of the book is called Sacred Success, A Course in Financial Miracles. And she really gets down into, first of all, the book was just published within the last, I want to say 3 or 4 years. So it's a modern book. And she was a woman who was married to a very H&R Block is a duo of two men. That H&R stands for two different men. And she was married to one of those men. And she totally trusted him financially, if I'm remembering this correctly. And she ended up going down financially because she totally trusted him with money. She was afraid to look at it, didn't want to deal with it. They ended up divorced and she found out that he was totally not handling money well and that he owed a bunch of money in taxes and had all this debt. And so she went on a mission to really get serious and strong and intelligent around money. And so she goes into, women being afraid of even talking about money and our old fear of being killed for being in possession of money, and really how to transform this in a feminine way. So that's a book I would recommend for, not just for someone who doesn't want to read Science of Getting Rich, because maybe it's a little older in this language, but even for a woman who feels like she wants something more modern to help her grasp and start to transform her relationship with money. So again, that's Barbara Stanny is the author, and the name of the book is called Sacred Success, A Course in Financial Miracles. Highly recommend that book. Thank you for that question, Alex.
You're welcome. Yes, and that really kind of brings us to the fear as well, right? Like, I mean, even looking at her own story, just because we're so scared of money, and what is it that we're just so scared of money that kind of makes us behave like little girls, right?
Yeah.
And so I remember you and I were once in a conversation, and you literally just directly asked me, who are you afraid of becoming?
Yeah.
And I can still remember that. So just talk to us a little bit more in terms of letting go. What kind of thought processes, what kind of fears we need to let go of? Because at the end of the day, to get from that point to that point, from being the woman who's like, oh, maybe I would like to do 10 grand, and like, I am making 10 grand in 10 months, in this month, right? Yeah. What do we need to let go of and leave behind us? And I know that you described this process of abandoning, which I really love this word because it's so definite. As in, like, it's done, I'm abandoning, it's behind me. So tell us, what do we need to abandon? What the women watching this live stream need to abandon in order to start facilitating the process of stepping into their power around money specifically?
Yeah, I love what you just did. It's, I love what you just did. I don't even know if you noticed it. So I want to bring some attention to it. It was just perfect. So the first thing I'm going to say is, because it's so important to be in a room, is to come to the More Than Enough Money event. Like, a part of this whole abandoning and becoming a woman, being in this room, you're going to be impacted greatly. Like I'm talking, like I want to penetrate. Like that's the purpose of being in the flesh, is to penetrate every woman in the room. So that she, you know, like she's activated and really starts to show up differently in the room and then when she leaves the room. But something you just did that I thought was gorgeous, I loved it. You said, how do we go from like, I don't know, I would like to make, you know, 10,000 into I'm going to make 10,000. Like right there, it was the voice that you used, the way your voice changed, the way you made the decision. Like I said in the 3 practical steps before, that one of them is to make the decision. And you literally, your posture, like you were like, up until, right? Like those are practical ways of being to help us start to let go of the little girl that you talked about. So I want to speak about this from a perspective of our ancient powers as women. Okay. First of all, up until the 13th century, women were the ones in possession of wealth and power and gold. And if men wanted to get something done, they had to come to women to form alliances to get it done up until the 13th century. Okay. You can research it. At that time, men decided they wanted to go to war. They decided they wanted to take over other people's territory. And it was then that little by little, the creation of what we today call the patriarchy started, okay? Now, the different ways that the patriarchy has become stronger and stronger and stronger over the centuries is through religion, through using fear and shame and God to control all people, right? The way women have been shamed is, or been abused and hurt and transformed in a negative way, has been to kill her if she displays any signs of power, have been to shame her if she displays any signs of power, have been to castrate her, reject her from the tribe, and cause pain and ill will against her if she shows any signs of public displays of power. Public displays of power. So when you say to me, how do we get women into their power around money? It's not about money. It's about women allowing themselves to be powerful in public. Money is a reflection of that power. It's a sign of that power. And there's an awareness that a woman has that when she's now in possession of not even just money, but large amounts of money. Because women who come to me and what lights me up is to help women to make large amounts of money, 10K, 20K, 50K plus months, okay? So for a woman to go from holding this really old fear that all of us have been born with, if you're a woman, you are born with this, okay? That you're afraid to show public displays of power. And then you grow up in the world and this, what you are told to be is not enough for you. Marriage is not enough. Children is not enough. To have a nice job is not enough. Now you want to affect change in the world. You don't, $2,000, $3,000 or 3,000 pounds a month is not enough for you. You want 5, 10, 20,000 because you want to make some shit happen. You need help. You need team. You need a beautiful home. You need exquisite self-care. And then you start to want to rise up and to use these ancient powers. I feel like I want to cry. Naturally, your body is going to revolt. Naturally, the old fear that every single woman harbors is going to be activated. And this is why the decision is so important. This is why the community is so important, because it's so easy to say, no, I can't, I'm too afraid if you're alone, right? You're going to say, no, I can't, I'm afraid, I can't do this, it's too much, right? Versus when you're in a community with other women where it's safe to make large amounts of money, it's normal to make large amounts of money. And when you are feeling terror or fear or panic, you have other women who get it because they're on the same path of creating power, stepping into power and being publicly visible in power. This is where the game changes. So to begin this process is to first make the decision. If you're having a hard time making the decision, start with being in the community. This is why the More Than Enough Money event is so important. You're coming to an event called More Than Enough Money. Come on. Like, this is the room to be in if you are a woman who has struggled with money, who is worried about people thinking you're greedy, who's worried about, oh, I'm charging too much and people are going to think I'm just doing this for the money. Do you know, like, coaching is one of the, to really be successful in coaching is one of the hardest things you're going to do. It's like one of the most selfless things you're going to do because it's hard. Nobody becomes successful in coaching without going through a shit ton of work for years, right? Like, even if you make 100K in your first years, man, you go through shit to make that happen. So nobody gets to like 200K, like nobody gets to real success, reaching more people, making more money without doing so much stuff that they would rather not do. So to worry that you're just doing it for the money, that's crap, and that's limited scarcity thinking. So if you're in or around the UK, even if you're in Sweden, Holland, Ireland, Paris, get on a plane. I have a woman who just bought a ticket who's coming from, is it Slovenia? Slovenia? Yeah. Get on a plane. We are going to create an experience of More Than Enough for you in the room. You will leave the room changed. When you go to the event website, morethanenoughmoneytour.com, you will see testimonial after testimonial after testimonial after testimonial of private clients of ours who have transformed their relationship with money and have had 10,000, 15,000 and more per month in their businesses consistently. And I want to help every woman in the room who makes the decision for that for herself. I want to help you do that too. So
that's all I can say right now, right?
Yeah, it's intense. It's a big girl decision.
Absolutely. Is it okay for me just ask you one more question before I let you go? Because since I have you here, I really just want to take opportunity to kind of to really ask this question. And one more thing that you've said as well, that, you know, one thing that I keep seeing is that we keep hearing from women that they're scared of success and they're scared of the good things, but actually underneath that is the being scared of being judged, of having big money, as you said, being scared of power, because, you know, who are those women in power? The bitches, right?
Yeah.
You know, who are you, right?
They're greedy. They don't really care about people, that kind of thing.
Absolutely. So for women who have those kind of fears, is that something that you will be talking about during the events as well, so they can address those fears as well?
Absolutely. Like, it's so critical because this, like, that's the behind the scenes work that we do with clients.
Yeah.
So it's necessary. And so, like, even in the beginning of the event, we're going to have to really get clear about, you'll see, like, I'm going to speak to this at the event because all of us in the room really need a container that's rich with allowing transformation. So if there's any of this, you know, unwillingness from anybody in the room, we're going to create a space where we allow people to leave without, you know, making a big old scene. We're going to do something very elegant and compassionate to allow women who are not ready to step into this level of power, this level of womanhood. And the world is so hungry for this now. I'm telling you, men respond favorably, real men who want to be in relationship with real women. And so the time is now. So we're going to do what we need to do at the very beginning of the event, to do a kind of excavation so that people who like get into the room and are like, I can't be here, have a chance to leave. And the ones who show up and are like, this is exactly where I need to be. We can create a really tight and loving space that's rich and ripe for transformation, because we really need to have women showing up radically different as it relates to how they see themselves and what they allow themselves to have financially and otherwise.
Perfect. Great. So thank you so much for your time, Naima. For all of you watching, get yourself to the event. It's on the 8th of August, I believe, yes, in London. I will be posting the link into the event probably in about next 5 to 10 minutes. And it will be in the literally just above the video. So click on the link, get your tickets. come and see Naima, come and spend your time with all the women in a safe environment where you can step into your power and discover those stories that have been stopping you from creating big money in your business. And also for those of you who have any questions, be sure to ask your questions below. Naima promised to come back and answer them. And so
within 24 hours.
Yes, we'll do 24 hours, but you know, hopefully that will be absolutely enough time. So thank you so much for your time, Naima. Thank you for the wonderful work that you're doing. I will be seeing you in August as well.
Yay.
So thank you, and I will speak to you soon.
Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.
Bye.